Hey everybody, welcome back to Almost Sideways, a place for movie conversations. My name is Adam, and today's conversation is going to be about a film from 2000, celebrating its 25th anniversary, and it's part of the Ford Explorer. And what the Ford Explorer is, it's a film series where I've been going back and watching all the Harrison Ford films that I've never watched before and reviewing them here on the podcast and YouTube channel. And so I'm really excited to dive into this specific one because I've never watched the film in its entirety. I do remember seeing bits and pieces and clips throughout the years, but just never got a chance to actually experience it from start to finish. This is a film where he teamed up with director Robert Zemeckis, and he also co-stars with Michelle Pfeiffer in a really cool performance from her. Harrison Ford, on the other hand, is really interesting. He's playing against type, which I think is kind of fascinating. But we're really going to dive into this conversation here. Before we get too far ahead of ourselves, if you guys have seen What Lies Beneath, let's have a good conversation down in the comments section down below, and let's get the conversation kicked off the right way. And if you guys love movie conversations like this, think about dropping a subscribe on the channel. We would love to have you be part of every conversation we have in the future, if it's this review or some other review down the line. So today we're going to ask ourselves the question, what truly does lie beneath? This film is directed by Robert Zemeckis, and he's known for directing great movies like Forrest Gump, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Back to the Future, and even other films that people really do love too. The sequels to Back to the Future, Polar Express, and Castaway. His kind of film partner in crime is Tom Hanks the majority of the time, but when he does branch out to other actors, it's kind of interesting to see what Zemeckis is able to bring to their performances and how their performances kind of live in Zemeckis' world here. So I didn't really realize that Zemeckis directed this movie until the credits kind of opened up in the movie and I saw his name attached to it. So sparked my curiosity, to say the least. And Harrison Ford and Michelle Pfeiffer, they would be great muses in the Zemeckis world. Let's dive into this plot, and I'll talk about what I loved about the movie and what I kind of didn't like about it as well. This film follows Harrison Ford and Michelle Pfeiffer. They're a married couple. They play Norman and Claire Spencer. Norman is a doctor of some kind. He's researching for this project. Claire and Norman have just previously sent their daughter off to college, and Norman is like the stepfather of this daughter here. So that does play a little bit later on in the story there. Essentially, they live out on this lake house here, kind of secluded from everybody. They have new neighbors move in, played by James Remmer and Miranda Otto. So some recognizable faces. James Remmer had played Dexter's father, and Miranda Otto, I know her from the Lord of the Rings franchise there. So cool to see some familiar faces. So essentially, though, Michelle Pfeiffer, Claire's character, has some long nights by herself, secluded in this house, and she thinks the neighbor is killing his wife because there's a kind of a weird interaction in the yard there. But so everybody thinks she's going crazy. Maybe the house is haunted. Who knows what's going on? So she eventually goes sees a psychiatrist, and that's not really working. And then as she's doing more digging and researches, and some of the paranormal activity, paranormal acts are happening around in the house, she suspects there's something sinister beneath the surface, aka what lies beneath. This is an interesting film because there's some stuff that's really is effective here, and some things that I feel like Zemeckis just gets in his own way. I don't know. So we're going to dive into this. I think that Michelle Pfeiffer, first of all, as Claire, is really fantastic here. She's obviously a very talented actress who's done a lot of great things that we've seen her in, but this one adds a little bit of crazy depth to some of her performance here. And there's a scene specifically in the third act in the bathtub. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. I don't understand how she was able to film that, and if she was able to do that all in one take, that is fantastic. But essentially, she's the water level slowly creeping up the bathtub, and it like goes over her face, and you can just see like her nose is submerged in water, and just her eyes are emoting so much emotion there. And it's one of my favorite Michelle Pfeiffer performances that I've ever seen. I think she's truly remarkable, and would be up in my top 5 probably performances. I would have to revisit my 2020 or 2000 actress nominations if we ever got that far, but see where she would fall. But she would be up at least in consideration for one of my favorites from this performance. So I think she does a really good job as this wife here who's knows there's something sinister, and she's doubting her sanity and putting the pieces together on this kind of a mystery here. And what she really kind of uncovers is that possibly Harrison Ford, her husband, Norman, had some kind of an affair or something, or he knows some whereabouts of this missing girl that does become a big focal point in the movie as well. That maybe the neighbor wasn't the one being murdered, like she had originally accused the neighbor of doing, murdering his wife, but maybe there was another mysterious blonde woman that went missing in some kind of circumstances there as well. And that's really what we uncover here, is that Harrison Ford is a cheating bastard on his wife, and it's completely against type for Harrison Ford. I've seen several of these films now, and I think this is my 8th or so review of Harrison Ford's works that I haven't seen, and I don't recall him ever being a villain, and this is kind of a horror-esque film as well, and I think he does a really good job. He has that charismatic nature to him in all movies. He has that like killer smile that he's a charming type of person in a lot of his movies, and kind of just packs that charisma in this performance as well, but also has that switch where he's able to like kind of turn into second gear and bring like a really crazy foe to Michelle Pfeiffer's character there too, which I thought was really interesting. I haven't seen Harrison Ford play a villain before. I know one movie that I've just seen the poster. The Devil's Own is one with Brad Pitt from late 90s. I haven't watched that one yet. I know that's coming up. So I'm assuming he probably is a villain in that movie, but that's just speculation at this point. But yeah, he did a really good job in this one. I don't think it's his craziest performance, though, but it's really fascinating to see him be this different type of character than I'm used to him seeing as well. I think the supporting cast is fine and good there. I think there's another recognizable name there, too. Diane Scarwood. I don't know why it was so hard to say that, but she plays the person that does the seance in the bathroom with Claire. She plays a character named Jody, one of her really good Claire's good friends there. And I've seen this actress in a lot of movies, but it's one of those like, hey, I recognize your face, but what have you been in? But looking at her filmography, obviously as Rumblefish, this is one of her bigger projects. That she was in Psycho 4, a couple other a Guy Thing, which is another 90s movie. I think that was Jason Lee. So nothing I've necessarily seen, but it's an actress I've seen her face pop up before, so I think she's interesting and a different layer to here as well. I got a lot of interesting vibes with this movie. I got kind of a Rear Window, which is the Alfred Hitchcock movie where they're peeking out and spying on all the neighbors. Kind of obviously Disturbia was a little bit later in the 2000s there too, but obviously Rear Window is something you can point to as similarities there, because there's a lot of times where Michelle Pfeiffer's staring out the window, looking at her neighbor's house with binoculars. I think that's a easy comparison there. Obviously got some poltergeist with some of the supernatural stuff, especially with the reveal of like there's actually this entity that is the girl that Harrison Ford did, aka quote unquote possibly did murder there. And seeing kind of her unravel the mystery there. So there's some possession going on in the film there too. Possession, supernatural element to the movie. Kind of some Fatal Attraction in there as well, which I think is pretty cool too. I just had watched that fairly recently, so I think there's a lot of things that makes it interesting. However, what I really feel like is Robert Zemeckis here. I'm really kind of hit or miss on some Zemeckis movies. Like his big bangers are the ones that obviously everybody really does like the Forrest Gumps, and I'm a huge Back to the Future fan. I know we're going to be talking about that later on in the year on the podcast, but Who Framed Roger Rabbit's another one I really love, and Castaway, I guess you could say too, and Contact for Zach, just mentioned that one. But there's other movies there that just don't work. He has a way with mixing up genres and different technologies to make his movies kind of unique and different in every project he does take. And while that's really revolutionary for a filmmaker, for me some of his movies are really hit or miss. Like I liked the big ones that I mentioned, but like Polar Express was kind of it's okay Christmas movie. I think the animation and CGI doesn't really hold up too well for me. Obviously Christmas Carol with Jim Carrey is another one you can probably pair together. Allied and the remake of The Witches, and he's also did Pinocchio and Beowulf, which is another one I haven't seen, but another one animated movie that the visuals don't really hold up too well. So he's really hit or miss on some of the stuff, and I think there's some moments he gets right with the horror here, but overall I think he needs to edit himself and kind of, there's no reason why this movie is as long as it should be. It's 130 minutes long, so it's not necessarily long. It's not the longest movie, and it does move around at certain paces. But there's moments that you can easily cut out to trim the runtime by get that movie, this sucker, under 2 hours. I think that you can tell still a streamlined story in under 2 hours, doing the same thing and not really cut out anything. But so I think that there is some editing that he should do in workshopping on that kind of stuff. So I think that this was kind of a mixed bag, really, by critics, and I'm kind of mixed on it too. While I liked the performances, specifically Michelle Pfeiffer, I think I cannot speak highly enough of that performance. And Ford, while he's good, he's nowhere near the best I've seen him being. And I think that interesting twist of him being the villain in the movie and having some really menacing ways about him in that third act. And I think the bathtub sequence is by far the best thing the movie has got going for it. I was actually a lot lower on the movie overall, even though it's nothing like atrociously bad or anything. It just was not something that I was really feeling the entire way until we get to the third act, where the reveal does happen. There's some really interesting shots that Zemeckis does set up, and some really good images on the bathtub sequence. And I can't speak highly enough of that sequence. But overall, I'm kind of at 2.5 stars. It's a really solid for the performances and some of the good twists and elements there. But overall, in the long and short of it, this is a movie. There's kind of a mixed opportunity. I think it's still a very watchable movie. Not nearly one of the worst movies I've seen in this franchise, in his Ford's filmography or Zemeckis. I think there's some really good things there. It's overly long for me, and it definitely feels it in the runtime there. Overall, I am at 2.5 stars for What Lies Beneath, and a fun story before I get too far, before I reveal where it ranks on my Harrison Ford watch. Every time I was researching images on the computer for this movie or writing my notes in my tablet here, I was writing Eyes Wide Shut for some reason. I don't know why that title, which is not completely this movie at all, but as a similar time frame, at least I give you that, Adam. But Eyes Wide Shut, I don't know why I thought that's what the title of this movie was. It's What Lies Beneath. It took me forever just to get that out properly, and I'm surprised it didn't slip out while I was filming this. But anyway, What Lies Beneath, a 2000 film with Robert Zemeckis. I do have it ranked at number 22 on the Ford Explorer ranking. It's directly between number 21, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, and number 23, The Call of the Wild from 2020. But a very enjoyable. There's enjoyable parts there. I liked some of the elements, the rear window, Fatal Attraction stuff's cool. Just Robert Zemeckis needed to trim himself. I'm not a big Zemeckis head, I guess. All right, guys. Well, that's my thoughts, takes, and opinions on What Lies Beneath. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this review. And what do you guys love about Ford Explorer movies? Do you like really Harrison Ford as much as I do? Let me know in the comments section down below. Let's have a good conversation with the movie and Ford's filmography. And I'll also drop in the pinned comment down there, I'll drop another Ford Explorer review there for you. And think about liking, sharing, and subscribing here on YouTube, and check us out on our podcast, wherever you guys stream your podcast, Almost Sideways Movie Podcast. Till next time, guys, my name is Adam, and I'll see you in the next one.